Hello, and welcome to another Music Spirit and Accountability podcast where we dive deep into real stories, bold conversations, and practical tools to help passionate parents, carers, and educators support our incredibly neurodivergent community. Today's guest is someone who absolutely floored me with their story. Elliott is the founder of Pryde Support, a game changing organization based in Queensland. But for this episode, it's not just about what Elliott does, it's about who he is. A man who's walked through the trauma, through breakdowns, through a brutally honest healing journey, and has come out the other side as a bold, compassionate, and radically inclusive leader, giving people that society often gives up on a second chance at life. This podcast is raw, it's real, it's vulnerable, and it might just shift the way you see healing, support, and what's possible when we choose empathy over judgment. So settle in, take a deep breath, because this episode could change the way you show up for yourself, clients, and your community. Let's dive in. I'm here today with Elliott from Pryde Support. Elliott, tell the people a bit about yourself.
Yeah, thank you for having me. We do a range of things. So yeah, based in Queensland, started out in 2021, come from healthcare myself and worked in disability for a bit. Through that disability journey, as a queer, gender non-conforming person myself, saw the large gaps within the sector for identified participants and identified workers. There was no, safe work environment for these people to be themselves, come out, show their true colours. And I had a really shitty day at work one day and found the answer at a bottom of the nice bottle of Shiraz with my husband, and we started the business. Started out with 2 participants in, I think it was February 2021, and we're now April 2025, May 2025, and we've got close to high 70 staff, and we do a broad range of things. So, the primary focus that I like to focus on is that queer supports for queer folk. Yeah. But another passion of mine that I've just started working with in the last probably 12 months is forensic participants. So people that have served sentences are coming back out into community, and people just don't understand that you fuck up in life, and sometimes you suffer the consequences, and you know not to do it again. Simple as that. Wipe your hands, have a shower, get all the shit off you, and then move on.
Yeah.
But for some reason, there is this big stigma around, well, you've been to jail. You no longer have the rights anyone else does, so I'm not going to treat you as such.
Mate, this is just unbelievable. I remember when I spoke to you 3 or 4 weeks back, and your story just inspired me so much. And what really blew me away was your personal story and how you got into this work and kind of coming full circle in some sense to now be stepping into this arena where you're providing these supports and so passionate about these tools to, genuinely help these people in some of those situations you just mentioned. Could you tell us a little bit about your story and how that came full circle? And like you said, you found that answer at the bottom of the bottle of Shiraz on that particular night to create this magic. But, surely there was stepping stones leading up to that as well.
Oh, 100%. So I, as mentioned, worked in healthcare, primarily in the mental health sector, and there is just not enough support out there for our healthcare workers in that sector or in healthcare in general. And I found myself having a severe psychotic breakdown and ended up in the ward I worked in myself, and being on the opposite side and just realizing that I had no empathy or sympathy for these people that were in the wards when I worked there. And being on the receiving side, I was like, this is fucked. This shit needs to change. So
Wow.
I got out. I took about 18 months off work just to really work on myself, figure out what I wanted to do, where I wanted to go, and to do a lot of digging and searching within my own morals of, the type of person I need to be. It was, battling alcoholism and and growing up, my own childhood trauma there. I'm a victim of child sexual assault, domestic violence within the home. I very rarely lived with my parents. It was always other caregivers. So it was just a really horrible childhood. And that followed me through to my adulthood. And I was a horrible partner, a horrible uncle, horrible person. And so when I got into disability, it sort of opened my eyes up to, whilst yes, I have a story and I've been through this, I need to step up, get over it essentially, and move on, because there are people out there with worst case scenarios. And I'm not trying to diminish anyone else's story. We all have our stories and our backgrounds, but we can't let that influence and affect what we do now and who we are as a 30-year-old man person, to be like, oh well, 7-year-old me was hit, so I have a right to treat everyone else shitty. So that sort of happened. Got into disability, really enjoyed the work. I had some great participants I worked with. The one that sort of drove me to open the business was a client of mine, and he was like, oh, let's go to Pryde. And I was like, oh, surely, you've got to purchase the tickets, so you do that. I'll get, approval from management so we can organize a shift and blah, blah, blah. And management turned around and goes, oh, it just doesn't really align with the values of the company. And I'm like, the fuck you
What?
mean it doesn't align with the values of the company? There's a participant that wants to go and have a day with his own community. So I resigned, got an ABN, took him to Pryde, and I said, look, this needs to stop now. Like, I've done my good faith for you, but you're still a participant of this other business. I need to step away. And he respected that. Ended up coming on board as a participant with our company a couple of years later. But yeah, that all happened. That's sort of the driving force of the why the business started. And as you said, come full circle, I now work and advocate strongly for reportable offenders. So people who have done acts against children. And it's a very tricky line, because I have had very heated conversations where people are like, you're condoning it. No, I'm not. I'm advocating for them to be treated like humans post release.
Mm,
They know they've done wrong. They understand it. And sometimes, unfortunately, it's all they ever know.
yeah.
They grew up having the same thing happen to them and being told, I'm doing this because I love you, and you'll have to do this one day because you love someone just as much as I love you.
Wow.
Well, of course they're going to turn around and show this person that they love him if that's what they've been told love looks like.
Yeah.
So a lot of education goes into their rehabilitation whilst they're in prison. Post release, a lot of education has to go into community members as to, they are human. They've done wrong. They've served their time. Let's move on and give them another chance at life.
Mate, this story, I've got so many questions for you. So, firstly, I just want to take a
Yeah.
moment to honor you because I am so blown away with your strength. I feel quite emotional, and I felt this to you when I spoke on the phone on just the incredible powerhouse I see you as,
Mm,
having been the child that was possibly had the perpetration, directly affecting
mm,
them and experiencing that side of things, to then come full circle now as this incredible 30-year-old man that you've become with all this unique experience, all those stories of all those experiences that you experienced that led to those stories for you to have to go through all that healing journey, to do all the time, have the breakdowns, come out of it, to shape this incredible person that you've become, to now be working with these people, rehabilitating and helping them come back into society and giving them showing them the light, being the light in their world to give them this opportunity that the majority of people would say, no, fuck you, like, no way, like, stay in jail, you whatever. Um,
Yeah,
I guess my question with that is, how do you balance this? Like, how do you deal with this, man? How does it affect you? It can't be an easy journey. And
it
why? Why do
it's
you choose this? How and why? Let's go
yeah.
there.
Um, how I have an incredible network. I have, two social workers that I work very closely with,
Okay.
a my own therapist that I've been seeing for the past 8 years. So, long term therapy has really helped with understanding where I'm at in life and, getting over those childhood factors. And he's the perfect therapist because his whole work and portfolio is you working with child sexual abuse victims and the perpetrators as well. So he's just phenomenal. And then on top of that, I have my professional supervision with, two other colleagues that work within the sector as well and with queer people. So I've always got people around me that uplift me and make sure I'm doing well. My husband is phenomenal at helping as well. He's, has his own story and helps and understands where I come from sometimes, most times. My business partner is also phenomenal. She's a really big advocate and supporter as well. So, I've got a good team around me. And that's not to say I don't have days. There's when I started this work and the very first client I worked with, I went home and wrote myself off because I was like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
And it's that internal battle that I mentioned before of, am I condoning this? Am I doing the right thing by helping these people? Or should I take that road of, no, fuck them, let them rot in jail. They've done
Yeah.
wrong. And I have no idea where my perpetrator is in life now. I couldn't care less. But the people I'm working with now have remorse. They have an understanding of what they've done wrong. One of their stories is, just so incredible, and to see where they're at now is phenomenal, and the work they've done is incredible. And then there was a situation last year where they ended up having to go back to prison because someone in the community did something, mentioned something, and their parole was ceased. So it was just a whole headache and nightmare. But we kept communication up. We advocated for them. I worked with the stakeholder team. I worked heavily with parole. We kept the house that they were in with us vacant and open and ready for them to come back home to continue the recovery journey. And they're doing fantastic. They've got a housemate. They're really close. They're doing great. And that's why I do it, to see and understand their journey and their rehabilitation.
Man, I love that you've got such passion around this, and I think the world needs, more people like you that have these sort of skill sets. And it's obviously a very touchy subject, and people are going to have a lot of different perceptions and judgments around it. So to be such an ambassador in that space, again, I can only imagine the ups and downs of the journey. So thank you, mate. Thank you for sharing so personally about that. And obviously, Pryde Support growing to such a big level so quickly. 75 staff, you said you have, right?
Yeah, about that.
Yeah. And you've got these houses
Yeah.
that you're able to get people in to get this rehabilitation, journey happening, and everything, providing that space. How does it work, with people getting in touch with you? Do you have like I'm sure you have a system for qualifying the right clients and those sorts of things, and then to get to that level where they're in their own house and that sort of space? How does that all work?
It's a very rigorous
Yeah.
progress and program. We have to ensure that the housemates will get along and that they are understanding of what's happening, who this person is, what they've done, Although it's also not our place to say, oh, we've got John moving in and, he's done X, Y, Z. That's up for John to disclose to Mary if they want to.
Yeah.
And, other than that, it's just about finding the right housemates to give the right fit for each other. They need to complement each other because you might have two mainstream NDIS participants who have intellectual disabilities, cognitive impairment, physical disabilities, who have no understanding of the outside world except for what happens in their little day-to-day bubble of life. You bring someone else into the house that's been released from prison, and you think, oh, well, they're all going to get along. They all love gaming. They love music. One's wants to learn how to be a pastry chef, and the other an astronaut, and whatever goals they've got. So you mesh them together, and 9 times out of 10, it goes pretty good. They get on, they love each other, they organize fishing trips together, they do their weekly shop, they watch movies. It's really positive. The flip side to that is when the families get involved.
Mm.
Participants aren't, especially the ones with the cognitive impairments, don't fully understand and grasp what's happened, or what the story is. The families get involved, and they're like, oh, what if something happens? Well, there's staff in the house 24/7. We've got things in place to ensure the safety for everyone, including our staff and any visitors that come into the property. So it is a very big process of checks and balances and do's and don'ts. So it can be a struggle, but it's also easy once we get the process going smoothly.
Yeah. Wow. And where do you see the future of Pryde Support going? In the upcoming years, as you grow and you're going to be having more houses and more of providing more of these services.
Absolutely. We're not slowing down anytime soon.
Mm-hmm.
We've increased the business quite drastically over the past 3 weeks as well.
Yep.
Inquiries coming in, people transitioning from incarceration to prison, community. So it's all happening. And if I was to slow down, I think it'd be a detriment on the community rather than myself.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, mate. Amazing, amazing sharing. Thank you so much. So I guess so I have my project, the Australian Music School for Autism, and we are like working with kids and adults with sharing the gift of music and all the thing. And I love to bring a little bit of music into my podcast. Do you play any music at all? Do you play any instruments or anything like that?
I did percussion through high school and
Nice.
loved it, but other than that, I haven't touched an instrument since I think year 11.
Okay, wow. So I
Mm.
have a question about do you have a memory, if you're open to sharing, do you have a memory as a child associated with music, like a song that every time you hear a certain song, it takes you back to some place in your life as a child or as a teenager with a certain person? And would you be open to sharing what that song is and what the story is?
Yeah, there's a few songs I've
Go
got.
for it.
Um,
I saw a big
so
smile appear
one,
then, so I was like, there's something good here.
yeah. So when I ended up moving in with my father for the tail end of high school, I met a really good group of friends at school, and we started a fucking garage band, and it was absolutely horrendous. And we were trying to learn the song, that Phil Collins one with the
In the air
really good
tonight.
drum solo.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I just remember, like, we're absolutely, like, we sounded like cats on tin roofs. It
yeah,
was horrendous. But, the drum solos and the uh, guitar solos when the basses and stuff would jump in, and yeah, it was really fun and good, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. probably a highlight of my high schooling and childhood. Outside of that, a song that comes to mind. Oh gosh, there's a few. I think one would be "Family Portrait" by Pink.
Okay,
You know, and
beautiful.
it's a bit sad, but you know, I would listen to that of a night time and cry myself to sleep and just be like, I really reminisce with that song and
Yeah,
sort of wanted what she wanted in that song as well.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, mate, I love that. Thank you for sharing. I got goosebumps all over, and I love that story of the joy and the air. That song, Phil Collins song, man. That drum break. I always think of the Hangover movie and Mike Tyson. I don't know
yeah,
if you've seen that. Yeah, but it's hilarious.
yeah.
And Family Portrait by Pink. I've taught that song before, and the magic of the story. It always blows me away. I think of this unforeseen power of music. I think of sometimes when I'll go and do shows at like retirement villages and stuff, and these oldies that they don't remember their kids' names, but you put on something like, start spreading the news, and they sing every syllable of New York, New York, every word for word, but they can't remember their own kids' names. It just, that sixth sense of music and how it has that superpower blows me away. So thank you for
100%.
sharing. Mate, where are you located? How can people get hold of you? What's the best way to get in touch and share your magic with our community?
Yeah, so head office is in Brendale, Queensland.
Yep.
We've got a hub in Waterford down Logan Way. I would The best way to get in contact would be jump on the website prydesupport.com, fill out an inquiry form, or give us a call. Our numbers on there. Uh, if they want to talk directly to me, in the our team section, my LinkedIn is in there, so shoot me a message there. Otherwise, I do have a meet with me link. Um, I honestly don't know how vacant it is,
Yep.
but they can always give it a shot. Otherwise, yeah,
Great.
pridesupport.com is probably the best bet, and inquiry, and then someone will reach out, and if not me, one of the admin team.
Yeah, your team's been amazing organising this podcast, so it's they've been fantastic to deal with. Okay, so one last question for this podcast is called Thriving with Autism, and we speak with industry professionals and always gaining and learning new tools to be better parents, better carers, better support. Put better support things in place for our clients, etc. So, if there was any advice that you could give, as for any parents or carers out there wanting to up level their skills and evolve and grow, what comes to mind for you, like with all the experience that you have working with your specific clientele? What would you say to people to maybe open their minds a little bit more, or give them tools to be better at what they do?
Accept help. I know a lot of parents that I work with in this sector and community, they feel like they have to do it alone because it's, their child or their family member. You don't. Accept help, reach out, lean on your friends, your family. The biggest advocates and support people I've worked with is Carer Gateway. I work very closely with them to help carers, and you don't have to be care recipient doesn't have to be on NDIS for them to access. You just need to identify as a carer. And on top of that, social groups, social events, allow yourself to have some respite so you can then better care for your participant, your care recipient. Educate yourself. There's so many online free courses and courses as well that organizations provide. Lean on your plan managers, your support coordinators, your stakeholder teams. They can do a lot for you, and it's not an independent battle. It's it takes a village to raise a kid, and it takes, three villages to help someone get through or raise a child with some form of disability. And that's nothing to be ashamed of.
That's some fantastic advice there. I think accept help as soon as you started with that. That just was like, ooh, yeah, that's so obvious, but people often don't. And yeah, what a powerful tool. Respite and educate yourself. I love that. I love that kind of, yeah. Take some time for yourself as well. That's yeah, really, really important. Mate, thank you
Yeah.
so much for your time today. You're a champion. I look so forward to sharing this with our community. And yeah, I wish you all the best. We'll be in touch again, please. With all the Autism Music Australia stuff, let's do something together. Maybe we can do some performance for you guys sometime or something. I can come down and do a show. We'll see what happens. But yeah, thanks
Yeah.
again, mate. Really appreciate it.
All good. Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
My pleasure.